Welcome back, everyone. It's time for episode 43 of the Horns Up Podcast, your weekly catch-up on all things metal. I am your host, Dan Kaplan, coming to you as always from New York. With me from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, he sees death in the eyes of dawn. It's Corey Butterworth. Corey, how's it going?
It sounds like it's Enslaved Week, which means I'm doing really well.
Enslaved Week.
Yeah.
It is Enslaved Week, and I'm excited.
Oh, of course.
I'm excited. Enslaved, of course, put out their new album, I believe their 13th album in Times earlier this week. We are going to discuss that later on the podcast, but before we get to that, what's been going on? How's life? How was Hockey Town? What's going on in your life?
It's been crazy. I spent last weekend. I feel like I mentioned this maybe briefly last week. I was in Detroit for a couple nights, or that's not even remotely true. I was there for one night, a couple days, to catch a Red Wings game, and then just kind of hang out, see what was going on, check out a few bars, and it was awesome. It was a good time, but still recovering. Just a whole lot of running around. Busy 36 to 48 hour stretch there, but it's good. The weather's nicer. Been running outside and shit. I don't know.
Oh my god, today
it's wonderful.
Today it got to like 55 down here. Before we started doing this, I haven't even showered yet. I just ran 3 miles.
Right.
It's lovely.
Oh, it's awesome.
Lovely out. We're gonna get a good bit of snow meltage the next few days because whatever was left because we're on a streak of it's not supposed to drop below 44 for the next 10 days according to the forecast.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man. I'll say after this winter, hell yeah, bring it on.
I will refrain from such optimism because not that it's going to get that cold, but we're talking in the 40 range the next 3 out of the next 4 days or something. But the problem is one of those days is Saturday, and one of those days being Saturday also looks like there's going to be precipitation, where if it's just cold enough in the morning, we might see a couple flakes, and I'm running a race on Saturday morning. So that'd be a whole lot of shitty. Well, I mean, it's a St. Patty's Day 5-miler. I'm not running a race. I'm getting drunk and running around like an asshole, but same idea.
A 5-miler. That's like a casual jog for you.
It's definitely it's gonna be a jog. I promise you that much, because again, it's been a long winter of being stupid, and St. Patty's Day. Yeah, we're gonna drink beer beforehand. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Well, now we're I think this month, or maybe this weekend, I suppose we're marking. It's what, about a month out from Boston, are we not?
Oh shit! Yeah. That's April 21st.
Okay.
So we're about 5.5 weeks out. I have some serious work to do, but I've got a game plan. I'll be fine. I only really, push come to shove, only really lost a couple weeks of training because as much snow as we got, it was all in a very short period of time. And I did get in my treadmill days, every other day or so. So I didn't really lose that much ground. It's just, still just a little bit of catch up, which is fucking stupid.
Getting back on the road.
Exactly. Getting used to it, getting used to the pavement and stuff. But yeah, it's good. It's good. It's like spring's coming and I'm in a good mood.
Good stuff.
Yep.
Good stuff. Very glad to hear that. Before we get into our headlines, I want to give you all a word from our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Liqui-Poo. Have you ever had a big meal only to leave the table with your lower intestinal region feeling more stuffed than a Kardashian sister at a dance club? I know I sure have, and boy, does it suck. It bloats you up, weighs you down, and leaves you to deal with, at the very least, a full night on the toilet. And in this fast-paced 21st century life, nobody has time for that. That's why there's Liqui-Poo, the all-natural cure for your constipation needs. Available in pill or suppository form, Liqui-Poo ensures a quick, smooth, liquefied exit for all your internalized food waste. Liqui-Poo guarantees that you'll be on and off the can in 45 minutes or less, no matter what you had to eat. Steak, curry, horse, windshield glass, you name it. Don't get stuffed, do the stuffing with Liqui-Poo. Available to order online at liquipoo.com. Liqui-Poo diapers sold separately, batteries not included. Now that that's over with.
Jesus Christ.
Liqui-Poo. Yeah.
Could have used some of that.
It's going to start a revolution.
Could have used some of that last weekend. More on that later.
Now that that's out of the way, let's get into some headlines for the week. We've got some pretty big news.
Yeah,
coming off what was a slow news week last week. We've got quite a few big headlines to discuss this week. Kicking off first with the lineup for Heavy Montreal, which was announced for the 2015 edition. Of course, Heavy Montreal is coming to the Parc Jean Drapeau in Montreal, August 7th through 9th. And I have to say, this lineup couldn't get much more varied if it tried, could it?
It really couldn't. I mean, there are a lot of bands on here where I'm like, oh, I would love to go to this. That could be cool. And then there are other bands that are just like, No. Also,
Yes.
how is a festival titled Heavy Anything when you're there? So yeah, it's diverse is a word that we can use right now.
Yeah. So off the bat, off the top of our heads, we've got classic acts we've seen like Testament, Faith No More. There's quite a bit of new metal mediocrity like Korn and Slipknot and Coal Chamber. Because great, that's just what Des needs is more opportunities to be in front of people. We've got some punk stuff. I see NoFX on there. I see Billy Talent, Iggy Pop.
Yep.
But then there are also some contemporary heroes. We've got Mastodon. We've got Meshuggah. We've got Gojira. Also, like randomly, Warren and Dokken for who the hell knows what reason.
I saw Dokken and immediately started. I was like, "What do you do?" All right, fine, whatever. But still weird.
There's gonna be like 20 people watching Dokken. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
It's like that. Did you ever see that video recently where Great White played a minor league hockey arena and there were like 10 people left because it was like a post game concert?
Why would you ever do that?
Literally 10 people stayed after the game to watch Great White.
Jesus.
I'm like, well, fucking duh, it's Great White.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But then it's like you've also got your kind of like your death metal heroes here, and like Dying Fetus. Gorguts is going to be
Destroyers
there.
on there.
Pig Destroyer, Pentagram, whatever, and then like Eson. Yeah, there's some cool shit. Also, Death Heaven. But yeah, I don't know. Just overall, just super weird. I don't know. I wouldn't mind checking this out some year.
Yeah, I was looking at it and I was like, I'm thinking to myself, I've never been to Montreal. It's been on my list for a while. I've always wanted to go. Been looking for a reason to make a trip up. Is this it? Is this my reason?
Hey, if depending on how I was thinking that myself, just given when this festival is, the timing actually isn't that bad for my 2015 plans. There are some really good bands coming, there really are, and if there's any way to do like a ticket structure like MDF does and just pick and choose, it's a good way to like check out some shows and also just be in Montreal.
Yeah, definitely. I have to check because we have. There's been rumblings of like a possible family trip over to see our family in Italy.
Nice.
Around that time.
Nice.
Which I'm obviously not going to cry foul if I have to miss Heavy Montreal because I'm going to Italy. Like, right. How sad for me. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see what the timing looks like if those plans actually come to pass. I don't know. But at any rate, Heavy Montreal, I believe tickets are available this Friday. Don't quote me on it. I might be wrong. Right. But yeah, again, it's August 7th to 9th, Parc Jean Drapeau in Montreal. Check it out. Google the lineup. You'll see it in full. There's a lot that we didn't cover. You
know what? Heavy Montreal isn't, though? A true open air festival.
You're absolutely correct. And that brings us into story number 2 for the week. The first true North American open air festival has been announced. Now, you can look at festivals like Maryland Death Fest or like Heavy Montreal, and like make a case for them as being pretty legit festivals. But we've got one now that was just announced that is going to be at a campground. That's going to be a true like out in the elements metal festival experience, like Wacken, like the ones you see over in Europe. This is going to be called Full Terror Assault. It's coming September 10th, 11th, and 12th at Cave In Rock in Southern Illinois. Now, this is the same campground that hosted the Gathering of the Juggalos for like 7 years in a row, 2007 to 2013. Promoters are promising 75 bands across 3 stages, and I gotta say, they have some decent initial names confirmed so far. We've got Fear Factory, we've got Misery Index, we've got Broken Hope. Now, like where they go with it from there remains to be seen. But I don't know. It's interesting all the same. Wouldn't you think?
I love the idea. I really do. I mean, that obviously.
Right.
I think
having done Wacken,
dude. It's just a different way to do music when you are out in the elements and you got you're tenting it. It's just a giant campground of heavy metal. Or just any music really. And that's all that is your world for a couple days. It's just something different. There's something about it that's just really special. And I felt that we needed one of these in the States. Obviously, we see how well they do out in Europe. And granted, the intrigue for it there might be a little bit higher. Just because better at doing.
Well, yeah, Europe's into its metal a lot more than the U.S. is.
Right.
Generally speaking.
Right, exactly. But that doesn't mean that this isn't something that will eventually take off. And yeah, for an opening year, I mean, I would expect, they'll sell some tickets just because of what it is. The bands are almost, I think, for a lot of us, probably, I don't want to say secondary, but it's more about, supporting this first open air festival in America, and then obviously if there's some good bands, that just adds to it. And I would like to see this do really well year one and just kind of take off a little bit. I think it's great. Obviously, I think it's great, and hopefully there's more of these that pop up. I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't. I mean, we all know that while we may not have the interest in metal that Europe does, or obviously certain areas in Europe like Scandinavia or Northern Germany or whatever, it doesn't. It still exists.
There is a presence here.
Yeah, it's
we as a country, I feel like we deserve this kind of experience for our metal.
Right? We do. We definitely do. The one thing being, it's going to be a whole lot more of a dick to get to these things in the States than it is in Europe.
Yes,
a whole lot. We do
not have the train system or anything to get to our more remote locations that they do over there. And Cave in Rock is pretty damn remote. It's way down in southern Illinois, right by the Kentucky border, in fact. So no matter where you're coming in from, it's going to be a little tricky to get to. The nearest big cities are St. Louis and Nashville. Louisville's not too far away, but a little bit farther than those two, and they're each about 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
So if you fly in from the coasts, you're going to have to rent a car to get out there. It could be a little bit more hectic than a lot of these. And we don't have Metal Train here, so that's balls.
So sad.
But here's the thing: the good news is that tickets for the entire weekend are $99.
That's insane.
So
that's insane.
That's a steal.
That's
75 bands for $99.
That's amazing.
That's
it's a buck five.
$1.33 a band.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, come on.
If they get all 75, which I don't believe they've announced yet, but that's still not a bad deal.
No, it isn't. I mean, again, honestly, I'd spent more money just camping for 3 days in various places. Seriously. Right. I mean, again, something that I'd be interested in checking out. Maybe not this year, depending on how some other things play out. But this is a great sign. I'd love to support its first year. Maybe I will. I mean, obviously September's a long way away. But shit, I mean, it's awesome. It is. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to have here. I'm completely on board. We'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah. I'm looking at it. I like the idea of it very much. I'm going to treat it like a new Apple product, like whenever Apple introduces like the iPad or the Apple Watch or whatever the hell it's on now, you never, like, the rule of thumb is you never go for the first edition, because they're always going to be working out new kinks. They're always going to be adding new features, things like that. So it could be pretty cool this first year, but if it does well this year, think how much better the next year is going to be,
right,
and the year after that,
right?
Because so I think I'm going to wait on it. I give them my full support. I hope Full Terror Assault becomes a thing, but I'm going to wait on it myself. I think
I will say this: if you were closer, say within even just a 5-6 hour drive, would it be more something in your eyesight,
in my wheelhouse? Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But that's the thing. I'm not.
Factor.
It would be a big trek for both of us, really. So I'm gonna wait this one out. I'll see how they do, and cross my fingers for them. So
exactly.
Again, Full Terror Assault. It's coming September 10th through 12th at Cave in Rock, Illinois. Just do a Google search. I don't have the website offhand, but yeah, it's interesting stuff. Next up on our headlines list. We have a story from one of our favorite people, Mike Portnoy. And by one of our favorite people, I'm being sarcastic as all hell. Mike Portnoy was going to be doing a gig in London recently with Neil Morse, only he got sick, and he was taken to a hospital in Islington, tried to jump the line and get seen before everyone else so that he could make his show, but was cut off by doctors and told to wait his turn, as he fucking should have been.
Yeah.
Now that, of course, isn't good enough for Mike Portnoy because, like for Portnoy, he needs to, walk on a carpet paved with gold and blah, 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 and eat off silver spoons constantly. He's God's greatest gift to mankind. Duh. So Portnoy took to Facebook and said, quote, "A very special no thanks, all caps, to the staff at Whittington Hospital for not seeing me, regardless of telling them that there is an audience waiting for our show to begin. I finally left without seeing a doctor in order to make tonight's show. I have no idea how the hell I'm going to make it through this thing. I can't even stand up or lift my arms. Sad face emoji." Because
maturity.
Mike Portnoy not being able to play a show is more important than, I don't know, people dying, maybe.
Yeah.
I can't. Like,
there are so...
This dude is the most tone-deaf piece of shit that, I mean, in a different way, I excluding Mustaine, excluding people like that.
Right.
Different leagues here. But this dude is just he has no self-awareness whatsoever.
I mean, what is he... there are so many things I want to talk about right now. I mean, first of all, one, what do you think you're doing? You need to get treatment immediately because you got to make a show, so you go to an ER. First of all, I wouldn't do that here if I had to be anywhere by the next morning because
right.
ER. Who the fuck knows where you're going to walk into? Duh. Number two, round of applause for Humanity for shutting him the fuck down at that ER. Thank you for being
both the NHS doctors and the fans who rightfully ripped into him on social media afterwards.
Thank fuck for that. And also, three, if he came back obviously and apologized because God forbid somebody takes whatever. So he came back and apologized, and all I have to say is you might think that when you have 1 million plus followers, when you say something, people read it. And people might get hurt by it. I have 40 followers on Twitter that I just don't give a shit about, and I'm still careful not to offend anybody because guess what? Come on, guys. Like, you're calling out an entire country's hospital system while you're in the UK, and you don't think that's going to have some negative repercussions?
You don't think that's going to ruffle some feathers, Mike?
Christ
really?
almighty,
I mean, to your point, he did apologize, but I don't know. To me, it just seemed like too little, too late. I feel like, the damage had been done by that point. And just what a colossal dipshit.
Yeah.
Like,
trust me, you're not that important.
I can't.
Nobody likes you that much.
Yeah. So, moving on, our final headline of the week. We've got some quick studio news we want to round up from a couple of bands we like to certain degrees.
That's the right way to put it.
Yeah. First up, Amorphous reported that they are going into the studio next month. Will be releasing the fruits of that studio labor, their 12th studio album, sometime in September. It's that's if things go according to plan. Now, I'm excited to see them at Maryland Death Fest. We both lost our shit when they were announced, but I gotta say, studio-wise, I'm kind of lukewarm. Their last two albums, Beginning of Times and Circle, just really have not had much staying power for me.
Nah, they've peaked. I honestly believe that. And obviously, I'm going to check this album out when it comes out, just like I do every time. But I don't think I've ever, at least in recent history, been less excited for an Amorphous album as I am now,
Right. We're always like, oh my God, Amorphous.
And now I'm kind of just like, okay, so what else comes out in September? I mean, I'm sorry.
Right. I mean, I just feel like they're stuck in a rut. I mean, like their first three albums with Tommy, we've got Eclipse, Silent Waters, Skyforger. I mean, just got better and better. And Skyforger was the peak,
absolutely,
not just of his time as lead singer, but
Amorphous'
I would argue
time.
One of the peaks of their career.
Yep.
And since then, it's just been not quite there.
Yeah, they've kind of
really have just been going really hard after the same sound, and it's just like you're not going to top Skyforger, guys.
Right?
Like, not with this sound.
No, I think for them, they've turned into a bit of a I don't know, like a Lamb of God or a band we're about to talk about in a few minutes, a Dimmu Borgir for me, where the last two albums I've pulled out maybe half the songs that I think are pretty damn solid and I can go back to. And the other half I could just have easily never listened to again. and I wouldn't even notice, you know? And that's not a good situation, because I think of albums like Skyforger and Silent Waters, and start to finish, they're just awesome listens. Like, you have to sit and listen to the whole damn thing. There's no point in picking out individual tracks, because...
And Eclipse, too, for that matter.
Yeah, obviously Eclipse is another one. But just start to finish, they're just great listens through and through. The most recent two, you can actually just say, shuffle mode, skip, here we go. And that's not good. You don't want that in an album. So, I don't know, we'll see what happens. But
yeah, it's amorphous. So I feel like for me and probably for you as well, they're like In Flames, in that, even though their catalog and their output is kind of going downhill, like just on reputation alone, they're one of those bands that I'm going to check out. I'm going to see like how the new stuff sounds.
Right. And exactly. I mean, obviously reputation is a factor, sure, but it's, the idea of new stuff is always going to, our ears are going to perk up a little bit, and, just because they have been quality over the years, there's going to be something we like on it. It's just the way it is. Will it be everything? Maybe not. But will it be something? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So we will see what happens there. Another band that we're going to talk about, Dimmu Borgir, who is at work on the follow-up to 2010's Abrahadabra. This will be their 10th studio album whenever they put it out. Not much known at this point. Shagrath just posted some pictures to his Facebook with a mic and a computer rig saying, quote, working on some Dimmu riffs. So, yeah. I at this point in time, I have to ask, though, do we still care? Has symphonic black metal... I mean, for me, I feel like symphonic black metal has just kind of run its course.
Of course it has. Of course.
There are too many bands trying to duplicate that sound. And as we saw with Karak Angren, it doesn't really work anymore. It
is such a tough line to walk, because you can go from, wow, this is powerful and epic and impressive, to this is fucking stupid. Karak Angren did not succeed. They wrote something that was fucking stupid. Dimmu, I would never really say put anything out that just sounds dumb like that you can't take seriously, but at the same time, the sound is just like, okay, what's next?
Right.
And so far, it's been a whole lot of, nothing's next. I mean, don't get me... I mean, it's just that's just the way it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Abrahadabra was, there's some good stuff on there, no question about it.
Born Treacherous,
sure, why not? I don't care. The band title track, the Dimmu Borgir, the song is pretty cool. There's some decent stuff on there, but again, oh my god, symphonic black metal, guys. I just don't care anymore. I don't.
How many times can you reach into the same bag of tricks and hope to get something new?
I don't know how many albums they put out now. That many.
Yeah. So we will see about that. Again, obviously very early days, but Dimmu is doing things, I guess.
Pre-production.
Yay, maybe. That'll do it for headlines this week. Let us move into some new releases. As we mentioned earlier, we've got a pretty nice week for new releases, headlined, of course, by Enslaved. So let's talk about that. Their new album, In Times, it's their 13th studio album. It's out now on Nuclear Blast. And I gotta say, I'm gonna start off. I almost don't know if it's fair to be discussing this thing after only like a day and change listening to it.
Dude, so for a little bit of background story here, I completely agree with you. I've had a little bit more time with it. I binged on it pretty much most of, Sunday, until they took down the video on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
They released an advanced stream. I never got around to it. So for me, it's been like 36 hours.
It's fine. Yeah, it's for the best.
You've had a little bit more time with it, though.
Right. And the first couple times through, and I was going to write about it on Sunday, but I was kind of dying.
Indisposed.
Yeah, so I didn't, and that was it though, because I didn't want to, because I was dying, I didn't want to like rush it and delve into it in a time where I wasn't really mentally capable of, gathering everything they had given me, because this album is so complicated, in a good way though. I've gone back to it many times. I've picked out a lot I like on it. I gotta tie back some of their not older work, but work from the past decade. You think of albums like obviously Retir and Vertebrae. I feel like those two especially come to play here. They've kind of found like a blend between the two, but even more progressive. I mean, Retire, dude, that's obviously not only one of the best albums to come out that year, that's one of my top albums to come out this decade. It's just that good.
No doubt.
It's that good.
No doubt.
But part of what made it so good for me was how cohesive it was. It had this certain somber feel to it. It was dark but heavy, but still kept that crazy, almost like cosmic atmospheric sound they do so well.
And what I loved about it was that, yes, to your point, it was very cohesive, but it was also just instantly kind of anthemic and accessible.
Yeah.
Right from my first listen to that thing, I was like, holy shit, this is amazing. And In Times it's a little different. I am not questioning its quality because it's fantastic right now, but I don't get the sense that I like it as much as I might 2-3 months down the road.
Okay. See, I
get the sense.
Yeah.
I get the sense that I'm going to that it's awesome now, but that it's going to even continue to grow with repeat listening. You know?
Yeah, I would actually agree with that completely. And that's what I think is a little bit different about it. I feel like there's just more going on. There's so many layers and so many levels to this thing that, the first couple times through it, I'll be honest, I enjoyed it and it was crazy sounding, and 1,000 Years of Rain was just one of the coolest songs I've heard in a long time. Yeah. But I just couldn't really make rhyme or reason of it. I couldn't. And then I went through a third time, and then a fourth time, and then I listened to it 3 or 4 times through work on Tuesday after I had already written my review and bought the damn thing. And it's really, really starting to grab me a little bit. So I tend to agree with you there. I think just because of how much is going on, it's just going to be a different kind of listen than some of the recent albums, and that is totally okay. It's totally okay.
Now, this thing it's 6 songs. It's 53 minutes long. Each song is over 8 minutes. There are multiple shifts in feel. It's very progressive. It's long. It's dense. It's going to take you some time.
Yeah.
Knee-jerk reactions, like early standouts. I really like Building with Fire. I think the refrain there is super catchy. I think they use it very well in the beginning, and I like how they bring it back at the end after sort of exploring a bunch of different directions with it.
Right.
Now You're Bleeding. Good Lord, that opener. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. I can't handle it. But yeah, like I said, these are just knee-jerk favorites, like early favorites. You mentioned 1,000 Years of Dawn, Thurisaz Dreaming. Yeah. That's another one. I mean, it's just there's a lot to like about it, and I don't know if I can really assess which tracks are my favorites or which how I feel about the album as a whole properly right now. I know it's awesome, and I respect the hell out of them for doing it and for continuing to just branch out and expand themselves this late into the career. But I have no idea beyond that. I have no idea how to properly put this one into words at this point.
No, I don't really either. I mean, it's just not even fair to try to. But yeah, no, I think every song has something to offer. Every song is its own adventure, and that's what makes it such a fascinating listen. Get back to me in like 3 months.
Right. We'll check back. We'll do we'll get Zach on, and we'll do a look back, a 3-month look back at how we feel about it.
Oh, you know who loved the shit out of this album right off the bat?
Zach.
No, well, yeah, obviously, but also our co-host emeritus.
Yes, Mr. Davis.
I gave him a ring today, or he gave me a ring, and we talked about it a bit. Yeah, it's Enslaved is just doing what they do. They write amazing music, and it just doesn't leave you for years on end. That's what they do. Yeah. And it's great.
Props to them. Honestly, we need more bands like that in this day and age.
AKA not Jimmy Borgia.
Right. Again, it's In Times. It's the 13th studio album from Enslaved. It's out now on Nuclear Blast Records, on Spotify. You know what to do. Give it a listen. Better yet, give it 4 or 5 listens. Let it really sink in. Next up, I want to talk about Ghost Bath and their new second full-length album, Moon Lover. It's out now on Northern Silence Productions. Now, these guys, I got to say, have had quite the few weeks leading up to this thing's release. Now, you remember when we heard Golden Number, when it premiered in January, and everyone lost their shit over it and went nuts over this anonymous one-man depressive black metal project from Chongqing, China. Yeah, you remember that?
Oh, yeah, of course I do.
Well, funny story. They were outed this week. A number of places on the internet. I first came across it in Kim Kelly's interview with them at Noisy. They were outed as a quartet from, wait for it, Minot, North Dakota. Not that this has anything to do with the music, of course. But I can't pretend I wasn't a little disappointed to have lost some of the intrigue behind, just the concept of an anonymous one-man black metal project from China. I mean, come on. Like, how do you not go nuts about that? Like, that's amazing. It's an amazing idea. Unfortunately, it's not a real idea. But ultimately, the music is what counts here. And I don't know if you've had much of a chance to listen to Moon Lover in full, but the music comes up absolutely aces here. Have you given this thing a spin?
I not since on the way back from the Behemoth show, actually.
Right.
Or that weekend. I think we went through a couple times.
Yeah.
I haven't picked it. I haven't listened to it since then. It's an album I've been meaning to pick up. I'll probably actually just grab it after this is over. I'm sure I can find it somewhere.
It's on Bandcamp. I know physical release is
harder to come by.
Up.
Yeah, they're not. Bull Moose, so that basically rules out any physical release for me, because that's who I am. But no, I love the shit out of it, and I was impressed by, obviously, Gold Number came out forever ago, and everybody's like, oh, Deaf Heaven Part 2, and then the rest of the album is definitely not anything Deaf Heaven, really, though. Right. Golden Number, we get this really triumphant, like, cheery 9-minute, just peaks on more peaks, just crazy track. But that's about as happy as it gets. From there, it's very bleak and very, very physically bleak. It really weighs on you. We get really after that song, it's really just measured in shades of darkness. As I wrote in my review earlier this week, we get some melodic ambient tracks like Beneath the Shade Tree or The Silver Flower. We get this like pure, like howled anguish on Happy House, which is kind of a funny name for a song that probably is the most like pain-ridden on the album. And then there's some nice aggression to close it out. I mean, it's a really awesome listen. I gotta say, it comes and goes pretty quickly, so you're probably gonna want to listen like 2 or 3 times in a row. I think it's only about 40 something minutes long. But you really gotta listen to it multiple times to soak everything up. There's a lot of beauty here, but it's buried underneath quite a bit of loss, quite a bit of pain, quite a bit of sorrow. And to comprehend both ends of the spectrum, you really just have to give it some time and give it a few listens. But once you do, it's just an absolute joy. For me, one of the highlights of the year so far, easily. And just a quick update, because I'm researching this as we're speaking. This actually isn't coded to release until April 10th for some reason.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell was up there. I could have sworn it was March 10th, like 2 days ago. But either way, you can still get it on. You can still get the files on Bandcamp. You can pre-order the CD. You can't. It's sold out. That's okay. But it's on their Bandcamp. You can still get the files now, I guess, which is pretty freaking awesome. And that is what I will be doing in about this time, whenever this is over. So
yeah. Again, it's Ghost Bath. The album is called Moon Lover. Head to Bandcamp. I know for a fact it's not on Spotify, so head to Bandcamp and buy this thing. It's worth your money. It's worth your time, seriously. Finally, want to wrap up with an album that I had a fuck ton of fun with this week. I don't know if you got a chance. Did you get a chance to listen to the new Santa Cruz album?
No, I was listening to Cancer Bats instead, which I shouldn't sound so depressed about that. It was actually a fun listen. But yes, go ahead with your Santa Cruz. I haven't heard it yet, though.
Santa Cruz. So they are out this week with a self-titled album. It's their second full length. And this is, of course, a Finnish glam metal crew. And this one I'll admit, I fell into the trap of ignorance. And as I was going in, I was sort of like, LOL glam metal. Or, I was thinking like, oh, this will just be like Steel Panther, right? Because as you know, like I fell hard for Steel Panther last year.
Yes, that is true.
On the surface, this thing kind of just looked like more of the same to me. but in reality, completely different animal. Really alike in genre only, where Steel Panther is very tongue-in-cheek, very much a joke band. There's a kind of earnestness to Santa Cruz that, I'll admit it's a little silly at first, but it ends up being really endearing by the end of the album. The musicianship is just fantastic. Great catchy melodies, some fantastic gang vocal choruses, really terrific guitar solos. It's just excellent stuff all around. You get a song like Velvet Rope, which sounds like kind of like Slave to the Grind era Skid Row, to the point where I thought it was an outtake from that album. You get The Remedy, which has a really, really terrifically catchy sing-along part after the chorus. Even when the song lyrics are like a little stupid, there's a song called 666 Feet Under, and the refrain goes full like verbatim. The refrain is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 6 feet under.
Jesus Christ.
It's silly. It's stupid. But the underlying music is just so catchy that, like, honestly, that song is one of my favorites on the album. It's just fantastic. I had so much fun with this thing. I started listening to it on Tuesday. On Monday, really. I was previewing some of the advanced singles. And it's just a blast. It does run out of steam a bit down the stretch. We close with 3 tracks that aren't quite up to the standards of really the first 6 or 7 tracks are all kick-ass, and the final 3 are but all in all, an incredibly fun listen. Santa Cruz, check it out. The self-titled second album, it's out now on Spine Farm Records, and it's on Spotify, so you know what to do there. That'll wrap up the reviews that we are actually going to talk about here on the podcast. As you know, we have a bunch more on the blog. We've got stuff from Porta Negra. We've got Socroptic. We've got Melakesh. Corey's going to have his Cancer Bats review out later today. So check them out, hornsupmetalshow.com. They'll most likely most of them will be on the front page. So give them a read. Moving into our final segment for the week, let's get into Horns Up, Horns Down. Starting off with Horns Up. Corey, what do you got this week?
It's got to be the trip I took last weekend. It's got to
Hey, Hockey Town.
Yeah, it's got to be the trip to Hockey Town. And I keep saying Hockey Town because that's what it is to me. I've grown up and have always been a Red Wings fan. So that was the primary reason for going out there. Was to finally catch a game at the Joe Louis Arena before they close it down in a couple of years for the new stadium, in the Midtown area. The game was awesome. Obviously, the venue is so much history there. It's kind of like, it's the equivalent of like a not as old or whatever, but just based on like titles and all that stuff, like a Fenway Park or something of the NHL, just banners and trophies everywhere. It's ridiculous. A lot of history there, a lot of red. Cool spot, not a bad seat in the house. Unfortunately, they lost the game, but after 3 $8 24-ounce beers, which is a phenomenal deal for a stadium, I wasn't worried about it that much. They're in a good spot for playoffs, for the playoff picture, so it was just kind of, that's too bad, but whatever. I want to talk more about the actual city experience itself.
Do it. Let's hear it.
Maybe it's just me, but the reason I took this place so much first was the people. Every single human being I talked to was just the nicest human being I've ever met in my life. Maybe it's because I'm from the Northeast and everybody here is a fucking cocksucker, including myself to an extent. But I was just so taken aback by how friendly and how helpful and how much of everybody else just gave a shit about other humans. If I gave a shit, I don't mean like anything crazy, but if somebody's walking towards them in their way, they would move for them instead of just being like, oh, I'm not moving, they're gonna walk into me and I'm gonna yell at them, because that's what I'm used to. So that was kind of nice. I mean, everybody was super friendly. The city itself was crazy unique. Obviously, we all know about Detroit's history. I studied a lot of it, in my college days because economics and stuff. So it was really cool to see it all like in action and before me. And sort of like how I've mentioned this before, not on the blog, but in general, sort of like how, Dan, you have experience with this, but Syracuse is it's shrunk, but you've seen like some dope-ass bars and restaurants pop up here and there. Kind of a similar idea. There's a lot of cool spots, kind of tucked away, definitely by the arena. We went to some great bars after the game, got stupid drunk off, $2 24-ounce beers or whatever the special was or something. And then the next day, Saturday, after getting some breakfast and stuff, we walked down by. We took what's called, well, first of all, we took a train, which is called the People Mover, which is a stupid as fuck name. Stupid as fuck name. But it's
that's like if Mitch Hedberg could come up with a name for
exactly.
things.
Exactly. It's the People Mover. And this thing, first of all, it runs like subways in the 1980s in any other city. It's like you put money in this vending machine, it gives you tokens. Each token's a ride. You put in the thing, you turn the rotating.
Get out of town.
Oh, it's ridiculous. There's no such thing as a card swipe there. But this thing, it's not a subway and it's not like a street level train. It's a monorail, like 30 feet up, which is actually really cool because you see everything. I mean, it's fast. It's kind of trippy, and it's just a really good way of like getting around, just kind of seeing the city without no offense to Boston or Detroit or Boston or New York City or other places I visited that have subways, you can't really see shit. And when you're visiting, it was just kind of a nice aspect. To just kind of like you go by certain monuments or something that you don't necessarily want to get off and go walk over to because who gives a shit, but you can see it, and that's kind of awesome. But we took a walk by Comerica Park and Ford Field, which are right next to each other, again, right in downtown Detroit. And we found this bar near both of them called by the Fox Theater. The Fox Theater is currently owned by the Illich Holdings Company, and for those that aren't aware of Illich Holdings, they own Olympia Entertainment, and it's like a multi-billion-dollar industry that's literally rebuilding Detroit in front of our eyes. They own the Red Wings, they own the Tigers, they own all these restaurant chains, they own fucking everything. And it was called Hockeytown Cafe, and we walked in and we had some like local Syracuse craft beer, which was off the charts good. And 1 at noon to take a break from walking turned into 7, and oh my god, we're gonna miss our flight. So it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of alcohol. I'll definitely be back. I know. I've talked about going back this summer with some people. Even our co-host emeritus, mentioned it when we talked today, because he's got family out there, and it was awesome. I can't wait to go back, be it for a hockey game, a Tigers game, even though I don't give a shit. Whatever. It was just a fun time. Not a bad first impression for a city that people don't give much credit to, obviously.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that's an awesome horns up. My horns up for the week, I want to talk about a realization I came to last week. So it was actually probably the day after we recorded last week's episode. About a year ago, you, me, and our co-host emeritus, Mr. Kevin Davis, started a little podcast. It wasn't even really a podcast on that point. It was a Google Hangout series
that we just streamed on YouTube, right?
Yeah,
Jesus.
Called The Bracket. And we ranked the biggest douchebags in hard rock and metal, and we did them NCAA tournament style. 32 douchebags, 1 champion, who of course ended up being Ted Nugent. But that was a year ago, and that of course gave birth to later to Horns Up, and we'll be coming up on a year of that at the end of next month, which is crazy to think about. But I saw this came up in Time Hop for me, and I saw this and I was just like, holy crap, this is awesome. Like we've been at this for a year. I'm still having a blast at it. This whole podcasting thing. I'm shocked that we've been able to keep it going this long. Not that I questioned either of our ability, but I've had blog related, journalistic related pursuits that lasted 2 months. For most of the times I've started them, they've lasted 2 months and then fell dead. So that we've been doing this and stayed interested in this medium for a year, I was just like, holy crap, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and I don't see, not trying to be boastful, not trying to be super optimistic here, but I don't really see any backward slides here, because as far as I'm concerned, this is awesome. The music I've discovered in the past year is amongst some of the best music I've ever heard in my life, and I never would have even found it if it wasn't for the research we do on a daily basis.
Right.
It's awesome. It's been a very, very good time over the last 12 months, no question about it.
Yeah. Now, of course, we will be doing something special, I'm assuming, we'll plan something special for the 1 year, the 52nd episode, I suppose, of Horns Up when the time comes. But yeah, this was what got us started. The bracket, I think there's somewhere hidden in the nether reaches of YouTube. If you go on my personal channel, I think you might be able to dig them up. But yeah, it's funny. It's really funny. I have to say, it's really funny going back and listening to those, whether it's the bracket or whether it's our early episodes of Horns Up, and just listening back at how new to it we were.
We were stupid.
How little presence we had as co-hosts, and it's funny. It's I'm this is an incredibly narcissistic Horns Up, so I'm going to stop it here. But, I thought it was fun. It was a cool realization for me. So check them out if you can dig up the bracket. They were fun. Give them a listen.
A great time.
Yeah. So that'll wrap up Horns Up. Let's do Horns Down. What has been getting on your nerves this week?
So this is kind of, in hindsight, stupidly funny. But after this amazing trip to Detroit where I barely remember getting home, I think I invented teleporting just because of how drunk I was. Yeah, it was that hard to get to the airport. But once I was there, I just all of a sudden woke up in Portsmouth. It was wonderful. But we got back, and obviously neither of us had eaten since lunch, and it, not a long flight, but trip to the airport, flight home, bus ride back to Portsmouth from Boston, step after step after step. We're talking 8-9 hours of just nothing but beer in our systems, because we didn't eat at the bar. We got there around noon and just started throwing back IPAs.
It's a way to do it.
Yeah, of course. Why not go? Well, I expected to have one beer, Dan. I expected to have one beer, and we would have kept walking. We had 7 and then almost missed our flight. I mean, come on. Like, if I had known we were going to have 7, I would have grabbed, like, Bud Heavies or something. Whatever. So, either way, we get back, and I'm hungry. We're both hungry. So, I'm like, all right, well, we got our little pizza shop down the block. We'll just stop there on the way home, grab, like, 4 slices, 2 apiece, and we'll have at it. So I go in, I grab 2 slices of buffalo chicken, 2 slices of barbecue chicken, or something like that. I eat my slices of pizza. Everything's fine. It's like 11:30. I go upstairs to watch a movie, probably something about Detroit because, duh. And 3 hours later, all of a sudden I start breaking out in sweats, and I was violently sick for the next 24 hours. I got food poisoning from the pizza. I don't know if the chicken was undercooked. I don't know what was going on. It's the first time it's ever happened there. But yeah, for the next 24 hours, I just no sleep. I actually laid a towel down on the bathroom floor for the night because I found myself every 20 minutes getting out of bed to go back to the bathroom to puke or something. It was so bad, and I was like, it wasn't.
How was Adam through this? Did he have any signs of this?
No, he was fine. And that's what's so fucked up because he ate the buffalo, I ate the barbecue, so they just made a bad batch of chicken or something. And like, it wasn't just like this, like being sick. It wasn't just like puking or whatever. It was also like I would have these flashes of like where my temperature would spike, and then 10 minutes later my temperature would plummet. It was so bad. I was like, I had the shakes. I couldn't like stand up. I was just stuck on the bathroom floor and just keeling over the toilet whenever I had to. I almost called the hospital, or 911 or something. It was that bad. Like my vision was all blurry and everything. It was so fucked up. But then by morning I was a little better. I drank probably 4 gallons of water the last 3 days. Yeah, but that was a fucking scary 24 hours, and it was a really, really shitty way to end a really good weekend because I remember the whole day Sunday being in like the living room. Adam was like trying to like talk about the trip and all the amazing shit that happened. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna go puke again. Let's finish this in about 5 minutes. It was fucking awful.
Jeez.
Dude, food poisoning sucks. It's fucking terrible.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm with you there. I remember one time, the last time I got food poisoning, I was coming home, actually for a funeral. And the night I got in the night before the funeral, so I was just going to bed. That night, I got food poisoning.
Jesus.
I forget what the hell I ate, but I was out of action the entire next day. I was just like, I can't come to this thing. I felt terrible because I'd come home from New York to, just to pay my respects and all this. And I ended up not even being able to go. Because it really, I mean, it takes you out of action.
Oh, it definitely does.
It really does. I mean, you're like when you get a bad case of food poisoning, like you're down for the count. So
yeah, it's not. It really does. Really, it cripples you. I mean, you're just not useful. You can't do anything. It's that simple.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody kind of. I know a lot of people have reacted to it in different ways. Some, might get sick like every hour or so. Me, it was a very quick. I don't know how quick it actually was, but it was, the onset was pretty quick. And then once I kind of, like got it out of my system, I felt better pretty quickly, which was like, Monday night, I guess it was. After I got home from work on Monday, I finally was able to eat some like real food, and I felt better. It came quick, it lasted for a while, and then it was gone as quickly as it showed up. But dude, fucking sucked.
Yeah.
God, go figure. I've been drunkenly eating that pizza almost weekly for the last 4 years, and then this time it's just like, fuck you. I'm gonna ruin your weekend.
That sucks. That's well. Hey, it's over. It's over with now.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You're good to
Drinking
go.
beers. So that's good news.
Yeah. Hey, perfect. My horns down. I don't know. I gotta talk about something that has been on my mind for the last couple of weeks now. I feel like it's been building for a little while. My horns down is honestly living in New York City. I'm starting to wonder how much longer I'm cut out for it. I am just starting to realize that this place is loud, it's rude, it's aggressive, it's quite frankly up its own asshole a little bit more than I prefer.
Sure.
I take the subway every day to get to work, and I'm surrounded by just absolute inconsiderate assholes who will like stand and block the doorway, preventing other people from getting in just because they don't want to lose their spot. It's, I don't know. I mean, I'm just touching
the surface.
Just scraping the surface here with this. And I don't know. I've been thinking a lot of different things. I'm starting to wonder, how much longer I'm going to be able to deal with it, to be honest. When it might be appropriate to start looking at next steps, both job-wise and location-wise. Yeah. I don't know. But this last few weeks, and I know, I realize I've had periods before where I'm just like, fuck New York, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But I usually get over it in a couple of days. This is something that I've been feeling now for a few weeks. And I don't know what it means. I don't know what the action's going to be, when it's going to come, what the plan is. But the finitude, I guess, of my
nice
term, to use that term, of my stay in New York City has made itself apparent. And I'm starting to think about what lies beyond, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's obviously understandable. We're kind of getting to a point that you spend a few years in a city, and sometimes you just feel kind of like the urge to check some other stuff out, regardless of whatever you feel for your current city. I mean, me, dude. I've made Portsmouth home and then some over the past couple of years, to the point where it feels like I'm a part of it and it's a part of me. But just traveling to Detroit, I mean, that got my wheels spinning. Like, this place is awesome. How cool would it be to like be here for a few years or something? Just something different. I mean, the people are here are nice and so on and so forth. But I have my routine here a little bit. That kind of, at least downtown, that kind of wears a bit. Just being used to the Northeast and just how kind of cold and rigid people are, I myself included, it was really refreshing to see people that, even though it was equally as cold outside, that people aren't necessarily that fucking uptight elsewhere. It was really refreshing, and it kind of loosened me up too. Like, I was making friends with everybody. I was like, holy fuck, people are talking to each other. And it was like, I don't know. It was a breath of fresh air. So I'm right there with you. I don't necessarily know if I'm going to be, taking any steps now, but I can see exactly where you're coming from. Hands down, no question.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I was, if I were to try and say that I saw myself here in New York forever a while ago, like I'd be lying. I always knew that there was going to be a finite amount of time. And I guess the end of that finite amount of time, just really is starting to make its case.
I mean, you've been there almost 4 years, right?
It'll be 4 years Memorial Day weekend.
Right.
I'm never around to celebrate my anniversaries anymore because we're always down at Death Fest.
Duh.
Yeah, Memorial Day weekend it'll be 4 years, which is a good amount of time.
Yeah, it is.
I'm surprised it hasn't burnt me out already. But yeah, so that's the thing. We'll see where it takes me. If it takes me anywhere this year, I have no idea. But it's on my mind, and that is my horns down because it feels, I don't know, in a weird way, it feels kind of like a breakup.
I can totally
my relationship.
I can totally
my
understand
relationship with
that.
New York.
I can totally
My
understand
relationship
that.
with New York is strained.
Yeah.
I need some relationship counseling.
Need
I
some
don't know.
strange. Need some strange for
yeah.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
Weird.
So yeah, that's my horns down, and that also is the episode 43. Reminder for you guys, check out the website, hornsupmetalshow.com for all of our album reviews, our recurring content, you name it. Hornsupmetalshow.com. Tell your friends. We love having you guys read our stuff. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are Facebook.com/TheHornsUp, Twitter and Instagram @TheHornsUp. Subscribe to the Horns Up podcast on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Podbean, you name it, we're there. Give us a listen. Tell your friends to do the same. We love having you guys as our audience. I will say it again. But yeah, for now, this has been episode 43. Thank you guys, as always, for stopping by. And remember, live,
Love.
plow.
Horns up.
We'll see you next week.